Okay, everyone. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. Y muy buenas tardes también para nuestros invitados que nos acompañan de Baja California. ¿Cómo están? Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please speak close to the microphone when it's your turn. This is a large room and the acoustics make it important to speak directly into the mic so everyone can hear clearly. With that, Francesca, can we confirm quorum?
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum. Absent today is Imperial County and the City of San Diego.
Thank you. Can you also please help us with the logistics for the meeting, please?
Yes, of course. Members of the public can participate either virtually or in the meeting room. If you are in the meeting room and would like to speak. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Can we have the interpreter speak first? That way. Sure. Okay, thank you.
And we can't hear, if you can put her microphone up a little bit too.
Interpreter, can you please go ahead with your instructions?
Yes. This is the voice of the interpreter announcement. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting scrolls are. Click on the interpretation icon, World, and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, 3 dots, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on Mute Original Audio to hear the original Spanish in the background. To not hear the original Spanish in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenas tardes, aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer el uso de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Ahí haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor ponga Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir los auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias.
Thank you so much. And clerk, can you please read the instructions for hybrid format?
Yes, thank you. If you are in the room and you would like to speak on an item, please fill out a speaker slip in the lobby and the clerk will call on you by name when it's your turn to speak. If you're joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature on the toolbar before the end of the presentation that you'd like to speak on. And again, you'll be called on by name. If you are calling in, please use *9 to raise your hand and you'll be called on by the last 3 numbers of your phone number.
Thank you so much, Francesca. And are there any questions from members regarding meeting procedures? Seeing none. Now I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that we live on and work on traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of tribal nations, including the Kumeyaay, Luiseño, Cupeño, and Coahuila people. Also, we share strong historical and cultural roots that unite us with all our neighbors. We don't have a blessing, right? Okay. Okay. Well, now please join me. Please stand if you're able to and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Moving on with the agenda, we have agenda item number 1. The first item in our agenda is our non-agenda public comments. Francesca, can you please call?
Thank you, Chair. We have 3 non-agenda public comments. We'll start with Hernando Duran and then go to Truth.
Hello,
I'm Hernando Duran, Director of Tijuana Verde at Tijuana Innovadora. For the past 9 years, we have organized the Green Agora every 2 months in San Diego and Tijuana. The Green Agora is a public forum where we address key environmental challenges in our region. I would like to invite you, all of you, to our next Green Agora on Thursday, July 10th at 10 a.m. in San Diego. The exact venue is still to be confirmed. This time, we will focus on the complex issue of the transboundary water in the Tijuana River. Representatives from USIBWC and CILAMEX will join us to share what their agency are doing to address these challenges. After their presentations, we will open the discussion to explore how we, as a local stakeholders, including government, academia, NGOs, and the affected community, can contribute to solve this binational challenge. Our main goal is to create a strategic local agenda which we will submit to agencies on both sides of the border to have this local point of view. Once again, the next Green Agora will be held on Thursday, July 10th at 10 a.m. in San Diego. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Truth, followed by allegedly Audra.
That meeting should probably be held in the affected community, Imperial Beach. At an Imperial Beach City Workshop back in March, we all got to meet a Baja official named Becky Boutros. She was an admitted non-expert on every topic related to wastewater treatment and history of Mexico's inaction and ineptitude, which was really fun. It seemed like Mexico sent her because she was young and pretty and tried very hard to convince everyone that she was one of us. She even said her boss lives in Coronado and understands IB's plight. First, no, they do not understand in Coronado, and I have heard, I know. Second, how does a Mexico official afford to live in Coronado when Americans can't even afford to live in Coronado? And we know that real answer. When questioned on facts, Becky from Baja's beginning, apologetic and friendly demeanor became more of something akin to machismo. When asked if Mexico could simply request America's help with the SAB plant, she said we could join them. If we did that, our country would riot at such unsanitary and inhumane conditions. She told everybody, oh, you can email me, and I don't think anybody got a response. I sent her 13 questions, got nothing back. After BOD, though, I did get to educate a woman on the future OME border crossing. She had no clue about it, and neither did her boyfriend, who she said is always an OTI. She was very, very shocked. I did give her an education on that. And about the previous meeting, did any of you guys catch when the woman said she bikes her baby in the stroller in the street in the bike lane? And she said she had a video of it. So I'm like, if you put that video, CPS might have something to say about that. That's very scary. Let me see what else is here. Oh, and Caroline, you were talking about taxing cargo coming through the OME crossing. Well, Alan had a really good joke. He said, Carolina's against Trump's tariffs, but she's all for tariffs on the cargo. I don't know if you realize the hypocrisy of that. It's outrageous. But, you know, if that's what you want is more taxes, well, that would just fit the party mantra, doesn't it?
Our next speaker will be allegedly Audra, followed by Blair Beekman, and Blair will be our final speaker.
Yeah, if CPS came in, all they'd do is take the child, and they'd probably encourage the child to be going in the street like that because they're domestic terrorists. Anywho, it's interesting to see everybody stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't even think anybody really understands what that means. And I think it really should say, I pledge allegiance to the corporation of the United States of America and to the democracy for which it does not stand, one nation, not under God, totally divisible, with no liberty, total control, and justice for none. Anywho, let's be real. Like, it's just like something people stand up and do. It means nothing. That's what's so sad. It should mean something. But I want to know when you guys are going to kind of take responsibility and talk about really the things that have gone on the border. And I've already mentioned this to you guys before, but the hundreds of thousands of children that went missing, you never acknowledge that. You never acknowledged that the border was wide open, that there were people coming across in massive droves on a regular basis. And if you're a borders committee saying that the border is secure, you're lying. You've been lying to the people, and the federal government should actually come after you guys for encouraging people to come across like this and have those children be trafficked. Many of them are dead. So that's on your shoulders. Like, I'd hate to be you guys having to answer to our creator one day as to why you allowed that to happen, why you don't care about it, why you never mentioned it. It's only since the change in administration that things are really being brought to the surface, and people are really starting to see the kind of things that have taken place, and that's a reason why federal funding gets cut, because of choices that people like you have made that have not been in the best interest of the people. And there's a lot of racketeering going on. So it's like, you wonder why things happen. Why don't you look in the mirror and take responsibility and see if you actually are happy with yourselves being complicit in the disappearance, rape, and murder, and organ harvesting, and more of the same of the children that went across the border.
Our final speaker will be Blair Beekman. You can go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for this meeting today. I think it's a really interesting meeting. I hope the representative from San Diego can learn to attend this meeting more. I'll write her a letter and ask her why she's not appearing. I don't mean to point her out, but she's a good council person, and I hope we can figure out a system. I think it's a good meeting. I wanted to offer that I forgot to mention at council meeting, at the board of directors meeting, we just had that. I really wanted to mention that the work that I do, the work that you do with, you've been talking about Argus issues a lot over the past month and a half. It's been really helpful and nice. And I didn't take the time at BOD. I just slipped my mind, because it's hard to speak at public comment time and remember everything you want to talk about. So I'll try to mention it here. Just a big thank you that you're really working on accountability with Argus issues. It's really important and helpful at this time. And it just shows that you guys are taking the extra step at this really difficult time of a new administration. I think we need to note that after the plane accident yesterday, that I think we need to really better investigate and question the way that the markings around the area are very neat. And I'm a bit concerned why the markings are so neat around the area. But with that, ICE agents raided a courthouse where immigration proceedings were taking place. And that's kind of a sacred territory. And they did it at the same time, I think, possibly. So it suggests, ICE was taking advantage of a disaster situation we were having. And that's ICE for you. They play dirty, especially in a Republican administration. And I think we're all trying to work here in San Diego.
Thank you, Blair. Your time has expired. That concludes the public comments, Chair.
Okay, just for the record, I do want to mention something, because I did mention it to Councilmember Chin from Carlsbad one-on-one, and now that Truth mentioned it, I feel like I should publicly. I never said I wanted to tax cargo. I said that if they're going through the 125, that was going to be heavy on the pavement. And over the years, opening Otay Mesa 2, it would be something that we need to consider having that conversation maybe for the 125, so we can rehabilitate it or come to some agreement or understanding for the cargo that was going to come through. Never did I say that in the new border I wanted to tax cargo, just FYI, okay? Okay, moving forward. As you've reviewed in your agenda packets, we have 2 important reports scheduled. Please note that we will be changing the order of these items. We will begin with item 4, regional safety planning updates to allow our partners from La Jolla Band to represent the report first. Following that, we will proceed with item 3, the border resiliency plan, which will focus on those of us here in the room. Now, thank you for your understanding and flexibility. And Francesca, do we have any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do have one public comment on consent, allegedly Audra. Oh, I'm sorry. And after allegedly Audra will be Blair Beekman.
Vamos.
Is it on? Okay. Yeah, you were talking about the port of entry or border patrol updated on the crossing operations at the San Ysidro port of entry. Again, when you guys don't acknowledge what actually happens there, you kind of do a disservice to the people, and they have to find out through the media or different things of different agents who have been engaged in smuggling and trafficking of either humans or drugs that are hired by CBP and work at the border. So I think that you guys need to be more transparent, not try and brush things under the rug, because that's what tends to happen. And it just kind of shows that you're not really paying attention to what's going on at the border. I mean, it does a disservice when you are supposed to be, you know, being transparent. There should be accountability. And when you don't want to acknowledge things like that, especially even the children, that's very concerning. Because you can't just pull wool over people's eyes and act like these things aren't happening. But when you're a committee that's supposed to be talking about all of these things, and that's not even ever brought up, that's a problem. That means that you guys can't be trusted to be transparent. And I don't know if it's because you don't want to be held accountable, but you need to work on that, because you shouldn't be like having all of these omissions, thinking that, you know, it's going to make you guys look good if you don't talk about those things. It would actually behoove you to talk about them, to say we need to own up to our own choices that have led for things like this to happen, and or like with the children. If you guys would have done something about that, it's at a certain point acknowledged that this is happening, something could have been done to save those children. Instead, you're like, let's get that conveyor belt of children going through. And it doesn't matter because that's off my back, right? No, you guys, and the time has stopped. Does that mean I just get to keep going? Looks like it froze in time, right? Meaning that I'm supposed to continue to talk about this, because you guys should be convicted in your hearts and minds about this kind of stuff. And having children, many of you, you would think that you'd want to acknowledge it, not ignore it. But that's what's happening. Like, I mean, through CPS, like children are being kidnapped, sexualized, so many things that nobody ever wants to acknowledge the effects and the domino effect that that has on society. Everyone just kind of wants to go along to get along. Nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. So they don't want to talk about how terrible it is that all of these things happen to children. And it's like you guys just sit there all smug with your looking away. I don't want to acknowledge it. You're going to have to answer to that one day. And shit, I'd like to be there when you come up with some BS example or answer.
Our next speaker is Blair Beekman. You can go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I think there were arduous issues on the last committee meeting, board committee meeting, and it was just, and there was presentations, I think, on the future of, well, the work of Riverside, what they're doing in their town, and how that can relate to issues of San Diego, if I'm correct in that. It was interesting. It was a good learning experience, and what we do with the future of train rail service from Riverside into the East County and desert area. I hope that conversation can become more open and regular, if applicable, here on this item. I also wanted to quickly comment as a point of procedure. It's been a trying couple of days with the plane incident that I hope, you know, we want to work on ideas of, I think at the local level, we want to work on a future of not harming each other as how we create policy. I think when we practice that well at the local level, we have tools to do that now at the local level. It helps state and federal agencies see better ways to work. And that can hopefully, they'll understand that they don't have to harm each other as well, or the local level as well. So good luck that we can work on such practices and talk about that sort of thing openly. It's certainly what I work on here. And with that all said, from the previous meeting, a person came in with some really nice words about what she does in bicycling around San Diego. Our public commenters really went down hard on her. I don't know if she was that guilty of anything in this life, except explaining her good feelings. I hope we can go easy on her in the future and the process. Everyone gets a chance. Thanks.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments on the consent calendar.
Thank you so much, Francesca. At this point on the agenda, and since this is a time for public and member comments, I want to invite our SANDAG staff, Ashley Wiley, who will share an important announcement. Ashley, are we ready?
Yeah.
Go
Hello,
ahead.
my name's Ashley Wiley. As she said, I'm in the regional planning department. I just wanted to share an opportunity to provide some input on an upcoming project. So SANDAG has engaged a consultant to help us modernize the governance framework to ensure clear roles and responsibilities, streamlined decision-making process, and improved communication channels between all of our stakeholders. So please keep your eyes out for a survey in your inbox. As members of our Borders Committee, we greatly appreciate your feedback and perspectives. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any comments on that? Questions? No, seeing none. And now I'd like to take the opportunity
Madam
to
Chair.
invite,
Are you still doing member comments
yes,
or comments on that speaker? Just general
we
member
can do
comments?
member comments if you
Okay,
want
thank
at
you.
this time.
Thank you. Speaking of children, since February, I met with a member of Homeland Security here in San Diego, talking about the border and unaccompanied minor children coming across the border. Reports from Homeland Security last year said there were between 300 and 400,000 on a list nationwide of unaccompanied children. Now, we don't know where they all are in the country, but I can tell you in San Diego, recently I talked with that same person at Homeland Security, and they have essentially cleared the list in San Diego by doing welfare checks. All we wanted to do was welfare checks. Are these kids okay? Because we can all think the worst of what could happen to them. And so what Homeland Security and the DOJ have done is the past couple of months, they've gone through the list. Some of those kids have aged out because the list is old. Some of the kids who had addresses in San Diego County have moved outside the county and their names were passed along to where they went. And the rest they cleared. He said they're down to just a handful of unaccompanied minors here in San Diego that they still have welfare checks to do on. Again, this is welfare checks only. This is not an immigration check. This is just, are these kids okay? So I'm pleased to tell you that this border issue, being so close to us here in San Diego, Homeland Security is on top of it, and they have ensured the safety of nearly all the unaccompanied minors here in our county. Thank you.
Do we have any other member comments at this time? Thank you for sharing that with us. That's very important information, especially for this committee. So moving forward, I would recommend that we have an update on this information, that it's something that we need to be discussing and seeing how we can be an asset or proposing really important information that comes from these meetings. So thank you so much for that and sharing that information. That is a crucial piece of our part in the region. And now I'd like to take the opportunity to invite our CEO, Mario Orso, to share some comments and updates.
Thank you, Chair. I want to take a moment to recognize Chairman Bo Massetti of the Rincon Band Luiseño Indian Tribes. First of all, a good friend, well-known tribal leader, and a founder of the Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association. Personally, Bo also founded the Reservation Transportation Authority that is not functioning anymore, but that was like a Department of Transportation for the tribes. He played an instrumental role on the first tribal sign package in the state, and it may sound very, very small right now saying sign package. In 2000, there weren't that many signs acknowledging the location of the tribes on the state highways. And Bo was instrumental moving forward with that. That's when I actually met him as a tribal liaison. I worked with him on that very first project. He is a testament, someone who has dedicated his life to service, to his tribe, and to Indian country, and he'll be missed. I also had a chance to meet this week with Chairman Smith, Chairman of Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association. We discussed the status of several SANDAG projects that are being pursued in state routes or highways that are accessing the summer reservations. We also discussed that there's been a lot of discussions about the tribal representation, voting, non-voting members into SANDAG. And it's been that discussion has been outside the tribes. So he has committed to have this discussion with Southern California Tribal Chairman's Association and come in with a formal request or non-request. So they'll be taking that on. I mentioned this at the board yesterday, and not to make it a piece of conversation, but yesterday we did have the audit committee. We will be talking at the board about the sole source audit. And I just want to, briefly state that what comes out of it, one was the big question, was there any fraud? And there was the answer no. And we really appreciate OIPA's efforts on helping us make this agency more transparent and helping us on the processes. At the bottom line, it's all about working on the processes and taking a fresh look on some of our manuals and procedures. Some project updates. The board approved our budget recently, a $1.3 billion budget for fiscal year 2026. We definitely will be coming with amendments to the budget based on priority discussion of projects, and also based as we're tracking what's happening at the federal and state level with the budgets. And based on what new information comes up that may require some adjustments to our budget, we will come and inform and go to the board. Our back office system for the I-15 in State Route 125, we've been working on getting that online with the vendors, Deloitte and A2B. They have had some delays on the data migration as well as the interface with the other systems that need to be interfaced. We have asked the consultant and our project management team to come out with a best and worst case scenario of the delay. As soon as we have that, we will bring it here to the Borders Committee and to the board. Our goal is to go live sometime in the winter. Also was in Houston this week, and we got to visit our counterparts in Houston as well as their emergency response center and operations center for their managed lanes in their highways. It was a good discussion. It's good to always go and talk to our peers because we learned that we have the same challenges, but sometimes they have other solutions that we can come and adopt. So that was a good discussion. I was also the prior week in San Francisco at the California Transportation Commission, and also visited the Coastal Commission leadership to discuss permitting issues, especially regarding our Lausanne projects. Today is a big day for us because today our planning department is releasing the draft regional plan 2025. That's a huge accomplishment. It is the biggest planning document that we put out, and it's our core responsibility to put it out every 4 years and get it approved. If not, the federal funding and state funding will not be flowing nor to this agency nor to any of the cities in the county. So we did reach the 19% air emission reductions target. This plan will have a 55-day comment period all the way through July 18. The cost of the entire plan is about $126 billion, which is much less than the 2 prior plans. Also, last week, we released the notice of preparation for the environmental impact report for the Lausanne realignment project. We will have 45 days of comments. There will be a public meeting on May 29th at the Omar Fairgrounds at 6 p.m. Another major accomplishment was that we released together. Well, this was SANDAG, Caltrans, excuse me. We're the sponsor agency. They're the lead agency on the environmental document for the I-1578 connectors. This project is in response to all the growth that's happening in the area. I've been saying this, we can't turn the other way that San Marcos and that portion of the county has become a hub. We have San Marcos State located there, and there's a huge amount of demand. The project will act direct connectors between the I-15 express lanes to SR-78 for 3 miles. And this will be a 45-day comment period. There will be a public meeting on Thursday, June 5th at 6 p.m. at San Marcos Community Center. And my final report is it's Bike Anywhere Day. We had about 10 or 11% higher pit stops than the prior year. It was about 10,000 pit stops. This was our highest number since COVID. So we really appreciate all the cities, entities who helped us with pit stops. And I personally appreciate all the staff here at SANDAG for all the hard work they put on that. And finally, our offices here at SANDAG and our customer service center will be closed this coming Monday, May 26th for Memorial Day. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. And now we're going to move into item number 2. It's a consent item and it requires action. It's the approval of the meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Supervisor Joel Anderson
Chair.
and second by Vice Chair.
Chair.
Oh.
Let's item.
Public comment?
We do have, did we have it already? Yes.
I think we did. but
Yes, sorry.
We can, yeah, okay. So Francesca, can you please call public comment, please?
Chair, we did already take the public comment on consent.
Thank you, though. I thought we did. Okay, so we had a move and a motion to approve and a second. Can we please vote?
That motion passes unanimously with those members present.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going directly into item number 4, our regional safety planning updates. And item number 4 is a great report because it brings us a unique perspective, not only because it addresses the critical topic of regional safety planning, but also because it showcases a valuable experience, our efforts in working and collaborating with our tribal government. Sam Sanford and Austin Norman from SANDAG will co-present with Nathan Howard and Mark Webb from La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians. Thank you, and please take it away.
Thank you so much for having us here this afternoon, this beautiful Friday afternoon, just before a holiday weekend. Great way to wrap up the week. So this item is all about traffic safety planning updates. A few of you have heard this from other groups, but for others, this is new content. We want to make sure we cover it well. It's really, I should do introductions first. My name is Sam Sanford. I'm joined by my colleague, Austin Norman. We are both planners on SANDAG's Sustainable Communities Regional Planning Team. And we've been leading the region-wide effort. So this item 4 is a 2-part presentation. First, Austin and I will cover a regional approach and regional safety planning efforts that have been going on for the past 18 months. And then we'll pass it on to our colleagues at the La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians, and they'll talk about their safety planning efforts that is also recently completed. The highlight on the regional efforts is that in November of the last year, we finalized the region's first Vision Zero action plan that covers the entire county, all the incorporated cities, the tribes, and other entities of the state. That's the big highlight, and we'll dive into the plan in a few slides, but first I wanted to provide a little bit of background on how we got here. We were fortunate enough to win an award from U.S. Department of Transportation called Safe Streets and Roads for All. That enabled us to have the funding to devote staff time and procure resources to develop a regional plan focused on traffic safety. And at the same time, we were able to partner with one of our cities, the city of Vista, and the La Jolla Band of Luiseno Indians. They developed their own comprehensive safety action plans, which were more granular in nature. They were able to focus a little tighter on their area of influence and their jurisdiction and come up with more recommendations, more detailed recommendations for projects. We were also joined by Caltrans on this grant. They're instrumental partners helping us through the entire process. So all in all, there was 4 entities working on this effort. So now I'm going to turn over to Austin to walk us through some of the data efforts that informed the plan, and then we'll walk through the plan itself.
All right, thank you, Sam. So one of the first orders of business and a best practice in safety planning was to set up a regional data resource. And seen here is our traffic safety dashboard, which details observed transportation safety data in the region. And a key benefit of centralizing this effort was efficiency, since the data cleaning, vetting, and code work were all done once instead of each city doing this separately. And the following slides will cover 2 safety networks developed as a part of this plan. Both networks are available on the dashboard where you can explore areas of interest with greater detail. So the map on this slide shows the extent of the safety focus network, one of the 2 networks. It represents 54% of fatal and serious injury crashes in the region, which occurred on only 6% of the region's local roads. And this map was developed looking at urban and rural roads separately since they have different contexts. And we also looked at modes separately. So that's motor vehicle, bicycle, pedestrian, and motorcycle, all combined into one comprehensive network. And a bit of foreshadowing for our next presenters. The box here covers part of the La Jolla Band of Luiseno Indians Reservation, who we will hear from shortly. And if we zoom into their area of the county, we can see some roads in the tribal area that are represented on the Safety Focus Network. With a little more detail here, we're looking at Highway 76, South Grade Road going up Palomar Mountain, and Valley Center Road to the far left. And on this slide, we're looking at the Systemic Safety Network, which is a proactive risk-based approach recommended by the Federal Highway Administration that identifies locations that have not experienced high concentrations of crashes, but are recommended candidates for safety improvements since they have high crash potential due to shared characteristics with roads that do see high rates of serious crashes. And on the left here, we have some characteristics that are found on roads with high crash rates, including proximity to commercial areas, housing, and freeway ramps, among others. And now in the following slides, we'll look at some highlights from the plan's data analysis. And as I mentioned, we looked at rural and urban areas separately. So on this slide, we have some key highlights on relevant safety data from rural parts of the county. For example, there were 5 times more crashes per mile on 4-lane roads than 2-lane roads in rural areas. And for the urban takeaways, the data shows that roads along commercial and multifamily residential land uses see much higher rates of high severity crashes. And so these are just some examples of the types of insights the Regional Vision Zero Action Plan provides. Much more is included in Appendix A of the plan if you wish to dive deeper into the data. Now I'll pass it back over to Sam to speak more about the plan itself.
So switching from the data and data analysis side to the actual plan, this slide is a copy of the inside cover of the plan, and it serves as kind of a stark reminder of the importance of why we do this type of work and why we need to continue working in traffic safety. So the analysis period for this plan was 2018 to 2022, 5-year span. In that time, within our county, 4,433 people were either struck and fatally killed or suffered serious injuries on our public roadways. The plan itself has 4 chapters. It's written in a way to be highly digestible, kind of defining what is Vision Zero and the importance of it, that roadway fatalities are unacceptable cost of using our transportation system, understanding the challenges within our county itself, developing solutions, bringing in community voice, community recommendations for safety solutions, and ultimately, how do we get to zero? What will the roadway changes look like? What will a safety culture look like for our area? As I mentioned, this is an action plan. So one of the key elements is developing implementation actions. What are we going to do next to make the changes? And to do this, we set up a structure where we broke out what SANDAG typically works on into 7 categories shown on the slides: coordinate, advocate, and so forth. And we nested implementation actions underneath each of those 7. So safety is not siloed on its own. It's actually integrated into our common practices as we work through as an MPO and RTPA. Next steps are we're working to establish a task force where local agencies, advocacy groups, tribes, and others can join us in the tough conversations and necessary conversations to continue to advance traffic safety, share ideas, share successes. Also, integration into the 25 regional plan, the draft being released today. And then last bullet on there is supporting agencies and tribes and applications for a currently open notice of funding opportunity for safe streets and roads for all. That wraps up the regional presentation. Our contact information is on the slide here, and then we'll turn it over to our partners at the La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians, Mark and Nathan.
Do we have them on the?
Yes, there we are.
Oh, there we go. Go ahead. We're listening to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. I can't help wondering if Francesca Webb might be a relative of mine. But otherwise, I'd like to move forward and say I'm Mark Webb. I have the privilege of working with La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians as a project manager and grant writer. And next to me is
I'm Nathan Howard. I'm the Director of Public Works and Director of Water up here in La Jolla, Band of Luiseño Indians.
And I want to kind of start off by saying thank you for the opportunity to work with SANDAG the last 2.5, 3 years now. And we now have, as of April 30th, Tribal Council adopted a comprehensive safety action plan. And I'll see if I can get the share button to work here.
I'm sorry, we are unable to hear you. Is it on our side, that technical difficulty? No?
Microphone is on. Can you hear me now?
Maybe we can elevate their audio. Go ahead.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
All right, I will turn it over to our illustrious Public Works Director.
So this is our La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. Our project background, analysis findings, community input, safety focused topics, safety solution types, and our next steps. The project background, we engage with the tribal members, public agencies to gather data, analyze it, identify our safety issues, recommended safety solutions, and see what would make us become eligible for grant funding. Our study area, as you can see, is Highway 76 within the reservation borders, where all our studies were done. Collisions by years from 2018 to 2022. When the studies were done, you can see in the graph the amount of accidents in the various years, 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Collisions by severity, complaints of pain, other visible injuries, severe and fatal. Collision heat map, you can see it not only covers the reservation, but goes up to Palomar Mountain, over into the Valley Center area, and the surrounding reservations. But you can see where we're located on La Jolla Indian Reservation that the heat map is, mostly in the red and everything. So it's pretty significant amount of collisions. Collisions by mode, other vehicles, bicycle collisions, pedestrians, motorcycle collisions.
I'll just say a little bit that it's amazing that motorcycle collisions are more than 60%.
I'm sorry, we lost your audio again.
Can you hear us now?
We can hear you, but very low. Maybe you can get a little closer to the microphone.
Let's see if we can fix it up
Yes,
here a bit.
perfect. Thank you.
That's
Thank
better?
you. Yes.
All righty.
Okay, collisions by mode, as you can see on the dots here, bicycle, pedestrian, motorcycles, other vehicles, our sphere of influence in the reservation and the study area, which goes out beyond the reservation. You can see the severity of accidents and the different types of accidents. Our community input, we put a task force together, had community workshops within the reservation here. It was discussed at tribal meetings, written comments. We did a lot of outreach and everything to residents here on the reservations and got their concerns, met in person. We had phone calls. Our task force organized the travel departments and other public agencies, the Highway Patrol, Caltrans, Cal Fire, and SANDAG. We all coordinated with the safety issues and solutions. Community input, we talked about the purpose, findings, collected input on tribal member transportation safety concerns. We found all our solution types and locations. The safety topic focus, unsafe speeds, roadway departure, bus stops, stop access, bus turnarounds, cell phone service to emergencies, driving under the influence, falling rocks, and roadway maintenance. Some of our solutions we came up with: advanced warning signs, curves, combined curve intersections, chevron alignment signs, dynamic curve warning systems. And some of our other safety solutions are review, retrofit existing warning signs, the sizes, doubling up signage, highly retroreflective and fluorescent sheeting, flashing beacons, resurface the roadways, and bring a lot of our roadways up to standard. Safety solutions, speed advisory, markings in the lane, which we don't have, high friction surface treatment, speed reduction markings, and center line and edge line, shoulder edge, rumble strips, guardrails, landscaping, grading at driveways. Increased mile markers every 10th of a mile, more cell phone towers for cell phone services. There's a lot of dead spots here. So if there's an accident, it's, you know, we've got very few call boxes around here. So, and bus shelters and improved bus access. Acceleration and deceleration lines. There's a lot of heavy equipment, big semi trucks that go up and down these roads, and a lot of them lose their brakes. There's really nowhere for them to go but off the road, causing accidents, road delays, road realignment, relocation, shoulder widening, turn pockets, increased enforcement, changeable dynamic messaging. Our next steps would be to finalize our report and documentation and report it to Tribal Council. And thank you. My contact information if you have any questions. Or...
And then, can you hear me now? Hello? So basically, we would like to thank CR Associates and staff for helping us with this project.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Community CR Associates helped dramatically in this. They came out and did a level of service speed survey and line of sight survey at the intersections of 76 Campground Road and Sangmi Oaks Road, where we have most of our traffic. And then also the basis, as I mentioned earlier, the Tribal Council adopted our Comprehensive Safety Action Plan April 30th. And it's now been sent to Department of Transportation to be reviewed as an action plan in support of going forward with requesting funding for our safety measures and countermeasures. Thank you. Where's the stop share button? I'll just go.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that presentation. And that's the information if we want to contact you. So right now, I'm going to send it over to Francesca to see if we have any public comments.
Thank you, Chair. We do have public comment. We'll start with Truth and then go to allegedly Audra.
You know, the Zoom in issues are very understandable and very forgivable. Long distance, not quite the same service you get around here. What's interesting is that tribal nations were included in the regional plan, but the SANDAG brochure, which sorry, I don't have with me today, the brochure did not show the tribal nations on the map, and nor did it show the unincorporated areas. So it almost makes you think they're not included. And the 4,433 accidents number still doesn't specify why someone was struck by a car. What about, was it by e-bikes? Did they get hit because people were on their phones and they just don't care? You've got, everyone's seen it. The people that cross the street on red looking at their phones. They don't care if they live or die. That 76 is horrible, and now Oceanside is going to add a giant commercial truck warehouse, likely Amazon, to create even more of a safety threat. That could be a potential issue. And missing data, what kind of lanes? Not just the number of lanes, but do they twist and turn? Do they go from 4 down to 2 and back again like a dangerous roller coaster? And of course, I already know the answer, but SANDAG has spent years neglecting the dangerous highways. And it's not just 76, 67, etc. I like the La Jolla Band's comprehensive safety action plan survey chart. They got right down to the heart of the matter that actually segments that people feel are a concern. If only SANDAG could quit playing multiple choice rigged games and get down to business like that. Because I have a question. How long did it take for them to come up with their plan? How long is SANDAG taking to not have a plan? You know, if we could do it as however quickly, I don't care if they took a year, that would be faster than SANDAG has been to address nothing. Because it's very serious. All of those safety solutions are definitely needed. It's like kind of basic, right? And sometimes maybe some of us take that for granted on certain highways. Like warning signs, that's really great if they're flashing and their meaning is clear to drivers, because sometimes you squiggle, what does that mean? A man at the retreat, Clifford, he actually had distributed a traffic safety solutions survey. That's a start. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be allegedly Audra, followed by Blair Beekman, and Blair will be our final speaker.
Yes, the tribal nation should actually not have to ask to have a seat on the board. It should just be something that happens. Anywho, I was hit by a drunken high driver. He was high on PCP, high as the kite, and also drunk. It was good. He thought he was going to do different reservations. But there's nothing that you guys could have implemented that would have stopped that from happening. So you sit here and you're like, we're going to go to vision 0. That'll never happen. No matter what you do. And I don't even think it's really about that, because any time the government wants to offer you money, all you got to do is follow the little rules that are there. Then you can get the grant money, and then you can pocket it and racketeer with it. You don't really have to implement, you know, what's being said here, because there's no checks and balances. All of this stuff is just propaganda to put in like flashing lights. Like, people are still going to die. There's nothing that you guys can do that is going to keep people from dying, especially by just adding flashing lights or, you know, some rumble strips here or there. I mean, eventually you're going to say, in order to get to vision 0, we're going to have to get you guys out of your cars, right? And then they'll just die some other way, right? I mean, it's kind of like saying we need to take your guns for a safety issue because of gun violence when it's really suicide. That's the problem. It's not people going and shooting people. It's not like we have these, you know, we're not Chicago, but it's like the things that you guys implement. I mean, it just says it right here, engage with the project background. So you just need to engage with some people, okay? And then you can analyze data. And then as soon as you do that, you identify safety issues by going, we just need some rumble strips here, right? And then you recommend solutions, and then you get money. How cool is that? Right? I mean, well, how cool is it to work for entities that just hand you money for doing nothing? Right? But you guys pretend that you are, right? And then your nice little speech about the kids. Nice try. It's a bit late. And that's totally propaganda because these kids, I don't even want to, it's just ridiculous. One day people will wake up to your shenanigans.
Our final speaker on this item will be Blair Beekman. You can go ahead.
Hi, Claire Brisbane. How are you interested in the truth word about how long did it take for all these project items to be completed?
Blair, I can see you're unmuted. You can begin your comments if you're ready.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Claire
we can.
Beekman? Okay, I'm having tablet mic issues myself at this time the past couple of days. Sorry about that. Yeah, my question was I thought the truth offered some interesting ideas previously. How long exactly has it taken for these projects to be fully completed? Has it been 1 year, 2 years? It'd be nice to know that. I mean, I have a feeling it's been done in a fairly short amount of time, but usually these sort of things take a fairly long amount of time. And I felt it was a very nice list that you offered. To go further deeper into the list itself, as Truth asked, I think would be interesting. Overall, really interesting. I've been learning that these tribal areas have been developing Vision Zero projects and programs. The Vision Zero presentation was really nice, I thought. It was really just matter of fact and simple and direct and clear. Wow, I like what is happening here. And I'm working with tech accountability. And I think what tech accountability can lend to the future of Vision Zero practices. No tech was talked about here. Was that on purpose? Is there no tech involved? Whatever minimal amounts of tech you may use for these projects, tech accountability allows a process where the whole community can participate in the decision-making of the tech and its tech placement, its policies when tech is placed. I think it's incredibly interesting work for the future of our local cities and tribal areas that it gets the community involved. It allows them to be involved and to ask questions. And to have that sort of back and forth is really important for our sustainable future, I think. So good luck to look into its ACLU ideas. And they're really good. They're
Thank you, Blair. Your time has expired. And Chair, that concludes the public commenters.
Thank you so much, Francesca. And before I open it to member comments, I know our CEO wants to make a few comments himself.
Thank you. And, first of all, kudos to the team. I do want to kind of put something in perspective here, because yes, we sometimes all the government entities can be daunting and confusing on the roles and responsibilities. And but we all try to work together and leverage each other. And what happens is, as I've done in other presentations, SANDAG plans the system as the MPO. And as we're a consolidated agency, we also deliver some projects, especially for the transit agencies. And then we partner with the state on the state highway, which they're the owner operators, and the transit operators, as it says, right? They're the operators, they operate and maintain the transit system. We also, through the Transnet ordinance and through act as a pass-through also with federal and state funds to provide funding to the local cities. SANDAG does not have any maintenance and operations responsibilities in any roadways, with the exception of State Route 125, which is a toll road. What this team does here, the gentleman in front of you, is there's a requirement that there needs to be a plan, call it a Vision Zero, call it whatever you want, a safety plan to be eligible to go and get funds. And those plans sometimes are confusing, daunting to get. The state may do theirs, and the state is pretty large, right? They have all the resources. But we at SANDAG act as a resource for our member agencies and our partners. So the Vision Zero plan that our team has made is for cities to adopt to make them eligible for funding. So then the cities can go and implement those safety projects. That has to be very clearly spelled out. We at this agency are not responsible for operations and maintenance of the roadways. We are an MPO and a consolidated agency for the transit projects. That has to be very clear. We value our partnership with Caltrans. Caltrans is responsible for the operations and maintenance projects and safety projects within the state highway system, and we support them. And this entity puts on the Regional Transportation Improvement Program those projects because it's a legal requirement like any other project. If for a city, for a state, or for a transit agency. So I do want to put it in perspective what the SANDAG team is doing. They're providing a plan that cities can adopt to make them eligible for acquiring funding for those cities' safety projects, as well as working with our tribal nations for the same token. So I wanted to clarify what this agency role is and what our team is accomplishing.
Thank you so much, Chair. And now I'm going to open it. I said Chair, right? CEO. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to open it up to any member comments or questions. Councilmember Steve Goebel.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Orso, I guess I have a question on that. So while the cities maintain and operate, the SANDAG plans the layout, if you want to call it that, of these bike lanes or roadways or things like that. So my question is, do the cities have a say once they're, here you go, operate and maintain it, but the cities don't get a say in how it's designed?
You have a total say. Rarely, I'll give an example of the bike program, which we are slowly ratcheting a little bit back and making it more as a grant, hopefully by 2030, a grant program for the cities. But our team, you know, if we get the funding for a bike project, it has to be done in conjunction with the city. And we cannot go and do any projects without a permit from the city. And the city will need to review, like, we will go like any other developer and provide the plans and get comments on them. And if the city doesn't like what's being proposed, we can't proceed with that.
So some of the, let's take bike lanes. They're meant to calm traffic, reduce speeds, provide a protected bike lane. That is a requirement sometimes to get a grant that you must put in a bike lane. Is that requirement a SANDAG requirement, or the money that SANDAG is getting from the state or federal government, that is their requirement? Whose requirement is it?
That's a great question that I probably don't have the answer right now because it doesn't sync that we would require. If we have a bike, if we would to have, which we don't have right now, a bike program grant here. Yeah, well, it's for a bike lane. Yeah, we will ask that the element is a bike lane. But any other projects that we have grants that I know of, we don't require a bike lane. I don't know if that's happening with the federal government or the state. I will need to go and research that and ask the team, but that sounds, that's concerning.
Well, I guess, would you mind checking into that and letting
For
this
sure.
committee know what you find out?
For sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else would like to comment? Vice Chair Eric Joyce.
Thanks, Chair. I noticed that the percentage, when you look at the collisions on in the tribal lands, the percent looked like more than half of the collisions are motorcycles, and that seemed like a very high percent. Do we know if there's if there's a nexus to that, or how was that kind of thought about when you looked at the improvements that go into those areas? I guess I'm just curious if we know anything more about that.
You know, when we did the analysis for the safety focus network, we did look at crashes specifically by modes. We did look at motor vehicles separate from motorcycle crashes and bicycle crashes and pedestrian crashes. And we looked at the highest severity, so fatal and serious injury per Vision Zero, that's what we focused on. And you do see more motorcycle crashes in Eastern County, where that is. There's different ideas of why that can be. That can be recreational users that are going to more open roads, rural roads. There's on Palomar Mountain, very curvy roads that some people might enjoy the aspect of riding on that facility, but at the same time, that has it is more curvy and poses more risk.
Okay, thank you. It just stood out from the presentation. And it seems like that'd have to be a prime mover of the way that you build the safeguards, knowing who's at most risk. So thank you.
Anyone else have comments or questions? Well, with that, thank you so much to Sam, Austin, Nathan, Mark, and La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians for this very important presentation. We appreciate your time and appreciate coming to the Borders meeting. Thank you so much. Now moving on, we're gonna head into item number 3. And I'd like to welcome Kim Smith and Ashley Solorio from SANDAG, who will be presenting this item. Now, before handing this over, I'd like to remind you that Kim came to our committee in November of last year. On that occasion, Kim briefed us on what she was planning as part of the kickoff for this initiative. Today, Kim and Ashley will update you on the progress of this great effort. I also want to thank our CEO, Mario, for having the vision to seize the opportunity to work and collaborate with Caltrans and to use this grant to prepare what will be the first of its kind study along the border. I don't know if you want to say a few words on this.
Well, this one, as it was discussed before, it's mimicking what is the Border Master Plan for Transportation, which has now become a blueprint nationwide of how projects along a belt at the borders, north and south, get planned. And both nations have to agree at the local, state, and federal level what the priorities of the projects should be and what the projects should be also. And it's updated, oh my God, Jose, every 4 years? 4 or 5. And so now this is the environment and dealing with what do we need to do to deal with environmental issues along the border. And yeah, there's a lot of discussions of the Tijuana River issues, and there's efforts going on with IBWC, with SILA, you name it. And hopefully we'll land into some good solutions pretty soon. But what happens after that? How are we going to avoid this problem happening again? And how are we going to deal and avoid not just with water issues, but also air issues, other climate factors that affect the area? You know, the wall that divides the border doesn't hold the air, has not hold the water. So, and there's so many other issues. So this is what this effort is, and I'll pass it on to Kim and Ashley.
Thank you for that introduction, Mario. Good afternoon, Chair Chavez and Borders Committee members. My name is Kim Smith. I'm a senior regional planner here with SANDAG, and I'm here today with my colleague Ashley to provide an overview and update on efforts to develop the California-Baja California Border Resiliency Plan. If you can recall, we were here back in November of 2024. We introduced the plan to the committee. Today, I will be providing a quick recap, including a brief project background, how the plan came about, what it will cover and accomplish, in addition to our timeline. We will also go over our efforts to date. I'll discuss the new interagency task force that was formed to guide the development of the plan, and then turn it over to Ashley to brief you on the public communications and stakeholder outreach plan. Finally, I will wrap up the presentation with next steps and then turn it back to our chair to open it up for discussion. So what is the Border Resiliency Plan? We and the 7.3 million people who call the Baja California border region home are all very fortunate. We share a very dynamic and integrated region with shared economies, populations, and some of the most diverse natural ecosystems you can find. But although dynamic, globally competitive, and rich in natural beauty, the border region is not immune to environmental hazards, both naturally occurring and those that are made worse by human activity. As you can see in the photos above, we are already enduring severe storms, flooding, wildfires, and extreme heat waves. On a daily level, the border region communities are impacted by polluted air and water, which often disproportionately impacts vulnerable populations, all of which will be more challenging with climate change. In many such cases, a lack of comprehensive and coordinated planning to get ahead and address these issues has contributed to these challenges. In the fall of 2024, SANDAG coordinated with Caltrans and was awarded a Sustainable Planning Transportation Grant to develop a comprehensive plan to address climate adaptation and environmental justice issues in the border region and the transportation network serving them. The Border Resilience Plan would not by any means start from scratch, but would build on many years of prior and ongoing work led by border region community leaders, agencies, and stakeholders. There already exists a long list of projects, programs, working groups, local initiatives working towards common goals. We recognize there are many overlapping efforts, and we do not want to reinvent the wheel. The plan would act as a platform to pull all this existing work together, find out how the border region can come together to better support what's already being done, identify ways to partner on new strategies, programs, and projects, and build towards more coordinated actions. As Mario mentioned, the 2021 Baja California Border Master Plan prioritizes, coordinates, and plans the delivery of transportation projects at the border. This border resiliency plan would provide the same approach, a comprehensive regional lens to prioritizing climate adaptation of transportation infrastructure within the border region. The plan will focus on the communities 10 miles to the north and south of the border from the Pacific Ocean east to the California-Arizona border. The slide above outlines the specific components of the plan. First, it will provide an inventory of our existing programs, projects, planning efforts, data sets, and data gaps within the project study area related to climate resiliency. It will provide an assessment of climate hazards, vulnerabilities, and challenges impacting border communities and the transportation network serving them. We will develop a list of prioritized climate adaptation strategies, programs, and projects that enhance resiliency for the multimodal transportation system in the border region, reduce climate pollution, promote environmental justice, and provide co-benefits such as improving water and air quality. Some examples of solutions could include expanding the use of green infrastructure and permeable pavement in transportation projects to reduce flood risk and improve both stormwater and air quality, or incorporating built and nature-based solutions to mitigate and protect public health at existing and new transit stops and corridors in vulnerable areas. The plan will also include robust stakeholder and community engagement on both sides of the border. Finally, a methodology and criteria metrics to measure progress, and that can be adapted to screen future border master plan projects based on how they address climate adaptation and environmental justice goals. What are the anticipated outcomes of this plan? It'll be one location that summarizes the work currently being done and the gaps that exist. It will build consensus around a list of prioritized strategies, programs, policies, and projects among binational public agencies and non-governmental organizations. This will give us the resources to advocate for these projects in the region when opportunities for funding come along. Finally, and most importantly, it will maintain and strengthen binational coordination on climate and environmental justice issues affecting our border region. So what have we accomplished in this last 6 months? In January, we received our notice to proceed from Caltrans We established the project development team. Members include our grant sponsor, Caltrans, our co-sponsors, the Southern California Area of Governments, and the state of Baja California. We began reviewing and collecting existing data. We hosted our first interagency task force meeting on April 30th, and we drafted the public participation and stakeholder outreach plan that you will hear about later on in the presentation. So the slide above depicts the anticipated timeline of the project beginning over on the left-hand side in April. In April through June, staff began and will continue to gather all the existing data in addition to drafting the public communications and stakeholder outreach plan. And then we'll be finalizing that plan with input from comments received from our project development team and our interagency task force. Over the summer, this is when the community and stakeholder outreach will begin. And then in addition, we'll finalize the summary report of existing conditions, including the development of a spatial data map. Moving into fall and winter, we'll be working on identifying those climate and environmental justice stressors and vulnerabilities and developing the metrics criteria. And then our climate adaptation analysis will begin using that approved criteria. We will also begin hosting public meetings for community and stakeholder engagement. Moving on to 2026, the spring summer, this is when we'll be developing the climate adaptation strategies, including the list of projects, programs, and plans. And then in fall, winter, this is when we will have a draft plan, which we will bring back to the Borders Committee. And then we'll be wrapping up in June of 2027 with our final plan, because this is when our grant ends. So as part of the development of the Border Resiliency Plan, an interagency task force was formed to guide the development of the plan. The slide above shows the feedback channels for this plan. Policy guidance for the plan will be provided through this body, the Borders Committee, supported by our project development team and the new interagency task force. Like I previously mentioned, the PDT consists of staff from SANDAG, our grant sponsor Caltrans, and co-sponsors SCAG and the state of Baja California. This group provides more general oversight and guidance across our large study area and will help maintain communication with all the many agencies involved. On the bottom right, we have our new interagency task force, and this group is intended to provide support in developing the technical aspects of the work. For example, sharing data, providing input on methodologies, highlighting existing solutions, and developing new potential strategies. It is composed of U.S. and Mexico, local, state, and federal and binational agencies, and will be meeting quarterly. Starting from the top of this diagram, as SANDAG is carrying out and managing the delivery of this grant, policy oversight for the BRP will be managed through the SANDAG's Borders Committee. Then the PDT, which we described earlier, will collectively drive the development of the plan by setting the agendas for our task force meetings, generating discussions, and ultimately reporting input from the task force back to the Borders Committee at key milestones in the process. Also, as mentioned in one of the previous slides, our intention is not to duplicate ongoing efforts. You will be hearing shortly from Ashley on how we plan to engage and leverage all the great work that existing forums, task force, our academic and research institutions, our nonprofits, and our community-based organizations have already developed on climate adaptation and environmental issues in the border region. SANDAG and the PDT will also be taking in feedback from those interactions and also from the public and utilizing it to guide the plan. Attachment 1 to item 3 in your agenda package includes the Interagency Task Force Charter. The charter describes the task force purpose and responsibilities the way that it's shown on the screen above. But the key thing to summarize is that we're here to collaborate amongst those public and government agencies. The Border Resiliency Plan will be a new framework to inform planning, programming, and investment decisions at the regional and cross-border level. And now I will pass it over to Ashley. Oh, no. I have one more. I think I'm out of order here. Hold on. There we go. On April 30th, 2025, we held our first Border Resiliency Plan Interagency Task Force meeting. We had over 50 attendees representing 14 agencies from the US, 9 representing Mexico, and 2 representing binational interest as shown on the slide above. And it was really an impressive and incredible turnout and a true testament to our shared commitment to advance climate resiliency in the border region. So now I'll pass it over to Ashley to talk about our approach to public outreach.
Thanks, Kim, and good afternoon, everyone. I am Ashley Solorio, and I am a Senior Communications Officer here at SANDAG. First off, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I think it's important to note that developing this plan is going to require robust input from everyone in this room, but also everyone who lives, works, and commutes throughout the Baja California border region. And that isn't something that's going to happen overnight, right? It's going to take time and strong binational coordination among all of us to make sure we're reaching the right people at the right time, the way that they prefer to be reached. It's really important to meet people where they are. And that looks a little different for everyone depending on their preferences, right? Some folks might prefer to provide input online. Some prefer to have a discussion at a task force meeting, a community pop-up. We're exploring all of those in this public outreach and communications plan. We are very early on in the process, but we thought it might be beneficial to walk you through some of the higher level goals, strategies, and tactics we're thinking about. So first and foremost, we want to make sure our target audiences are aware of the study so that they can actually participate. And once they're aware and kind of following along, we want to really gather feedback on what adverse climate impacts exist, how we can improve our transportation system to better adapt to those conditions, and what issues should be prioritized to address the immediate needs of residents today while building a more resilient network for the future. And so we want to proactively engage our environmental justice communities and members of the public with not just one opportunity to participate, multiple opportunities to participate in the public planning process. We really want everyone to have a seat at the table. We want to foster collaborative relationships to create a unified and coordinated approach to advancing this study. And we want to reinforce our shared binational commitment to improving the environment and overall quality of life for residents in our border region. So to accomplish these goals, we're kind of envisioning this as a 5-phase approach where we focus initial efforts on gathering information from those closest to the issue who have more of that technical understanding, and then slowly casting a broader net until getting the public fully engaged. So we're still early in the process, but some of these initial strategies and tactics could include holding one-on-one stakeholder interviews with cities located within the study area, hosting a roundtable with business, environmental, and community leaders, and coordinating closely with CBOs on both sides of the border to ensure they're up to speed and really involved in those early discussions. And then using the information gathered during this initial outreach, we would then begin building on that and educating the broader public about the study and ways they can kind of follow along and get involved. So this could look a lot of different ways, but we are thinking it could include participating in community presentations, pop-ups, and other existing events to inform the public and encourage email signups, launching an online and print survey in both English and Spanish to gather feedback on the climate stressors currently facing residents, and really holding both in-person and virtual meetings to ensure we're being inclusive and meeting the needs of our target audiences. And I know I said it a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, it's really important that we're meeting people where they are and not where we just expect them to be. So once we have the draft plan, we may want to launch a new survey and hold additional public meetings to educate the public about the contents of the plan and really solicit feedback on that. This feedback may also help us further prioritize and refine the contents of that plan. Luckily, we're still early on in the planning process here, which is great because all options are still on the table. And we really value this committee's input and look forward to opening the forum up for discussion on this shortly. But in the meantime, I will turn it back over to Kim to go over next steps.
Thank you, Ashley. So to wrap up today, what are our next steps over the next year? So we're here today presenting to you on our plan. And then in May, we will be releasing the draft public participation and outreach plan to our interagency task force members for their comments and feedback. Then this summer, we hope to have our executed technical and communications consultants on board. We will begin the identification of those climate stressors and environmental justice vulnerabilities through our community engagement and outreach. The end of July, we hope to host our second task force meeting and primarily focused on air quality and what are the other climate stressors. And then moving into fall, we'll be focusing on finalizing our existing conditions and literature summary report with that draft spatial data map, and then developing the methodology to identify our environmental justice communities on both sides of the border. We'll be hosting our third interagency task force meeting in October, as well as bringing an update back to the Borders Committee. So that concludes our presentation today, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
I'm going to open it up first for public comment. Francesca, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chair. We do. We'll start with Truth and then go to allegedly Audra.
I always have to start with this. We are not a region. We have very clear, distinct borders that should be respected. And which nonprofits and CBOs, because hopefully not Wild Coast, there is so much conflict of interest that could happen depending on who's going to be given the free open door. And a year is too long to begin development of projects and plans. We've known of Mexico's pollution for decades and decades, literally my entire life. When I left the council meeting on Wednesday, I got to breathe in that familiar toxic smell and air. And Chula Vista has been 100% against environmental justice from my perspective, because just on Tuesday, they prioritized anti-Trump tariff tirades over real pollution solutions, just like Paloma did. They could have supported real solutions, but no, they had to play politics. Tariffs could actually be a quick and easy tactic to force Mexico to make the proper investments in wastewater treatment infrastructure that they need to. Those with misplaced priorities do not belong on this committee and should have zero say on this task force or any potential future plans, especially if they also want to tax for one highway. The APCD has also repeatedly failed and prioritized permit money over solutions. CARB is another failure. You know, the air quality, it's not even being met. And yet they've said nothing. NADBank won't need to give out loans to Mexico this time, though, because Mexico is going to be getting 50% of our toll money for doing absolutely nothing. And I do warn SANDAG ahead of time that if you set up public meetings in IB with your clear border bias, you're going to find people who are beyond tired of excuses. They have no patience left for delays and disrespectful talks of binational, international, free trade, fascism over human life. So I ask, what about Minute 328? What about limiting border crossings by cars that are not up to California emission standards? What about limiting all crossings when Mexico has sewage spills? And I'm trying to trigger people because I'm assuming there's an assumption that maybe I like Trump, which would not be true. I actually just want health security for all Americans. So I actually look forward to how these events go. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be allegedly Audra, followed by Blair Beekman.
Meet people where they are, not where you expect them to be. It's not what you guys engage in. It's funny though, all this lip service. You guys are money whores and you'll do anything to just like get the money. Doesn't matter if it was like to go against this agenda, you guys would be the first ones there showing your boobs and all that. Yeah, and men too, whatever. But it's just funny, you're gonna create this task force and act like you collaborate with Mexico, right? surely, or are you Mexico's bitch? I'm not sure, because it's like you don't do anything to make sure that Mexico is up to standards that we have to be here in San Diego. So it doesn't matter that these cars that come across, you know, millions of them, that they don't even have to have smog, but yet we do. And then we are the ones here in San Diego that have to be pay the price for the increased GHGs and everything that are coming across. So it's like you guys are unwilling to acknowledge that there is no collaboration with Mexico. They do whatever they want. We're sitting here implementing all these things, but it doesn't matter what you do to pretend to save the planet if you have a country that's not going to do anything or equally as much. It's pointless. So it's like, until you're willing, like, that's why a tax should come for all the people that want to come from Mexico, come here and work and then take the money back to Mexico. Why don't you tax them? Unless they are going to have some kind of smog that they could do to make sure that their cars are also up to compliance. Otherwise, quit all this lip service talking about like we're collaborating and we're going to, you know, coordinate and all this. It doesn't look like it. It looks like Mexico is like really taking advantage of a bunch of idiots who are like, yeah, we're not willing to like hold them to the fire because we need to have all this $60 billion of commerce coming through. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, get some cojones and actually tell Mexico, either you put up or shut up, because we're not going to continue to pay for the shit that you guys.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Blair Beekman. You can go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for this item. I'm wondering if this is the task force that Mario has been talking about often. There's two task force groups in the Baja area, a larger one and a sub one that's got a lot of hope in what it can be doing. Is this the one that you're talking about at this time, is my question. If it is, good luck in your efforts. Good luck in however this task force can move forward. I'm hopeful for it. What I'm hopeful for is can they have a way to work in real life situations? Are they going to be more of an academic study session group? Because you know, the question about like the water filtration systems for Mexico that ended up being fresh water instead of salt water, when, you know, Mexico, what I'm learning is making their big commitment for the future of the sewer issues in Tijuana to be ocean-based, desalinization-based. So why didn't they get ocean filters? You know, there's a lack of coordination and understanding going on. Is this task force, as they're working, going to work to coordinate, you know, active political players and what's going on, you know, programs. So good luck in those efforts to do that. Good luck in communication and coordination. And of course, you know, my work with tech accountability, I mentioned at the previous public meeting, if we work on border issues of tech accountability and share our best practices with Mexico, they've got awesome tech accountability practices they can share in return. I think you'll be really impressed. I hope that's meeting of the minds creates a good dialogue, and that can create better dialogue for your other programs. So I'm really hopeful in those terms what you guys can be working together with tech.
Thank you. Your time has expired. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Francesca. And now I'm going to open it up for member comments. And before I do, I want to thank you. This is really something that we need to think about, that for many, many years, I've been sitting in these meetings for more than a decade. And I know that this is something that was expected to come sooner rather than later, but it took quite a while. And just having the accountability of everyone in a regional way is important. And I know there's many, many people that are going to be sitting in this task force, and this is what we need for both sides to be accountable for all the issues and come together to prepare solutions. So I really want to thank you both for having this important presentation, but I will open it up to our board members right now. Oh, Councilmember Steve Goble.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. It's clear what your anticipated outcomes are. These would be, I assume, the benefits of all of this work to the region in terms of climate and public health stressors in the border region. My question is about funding. On this side of the border, we're hearing that the taxpayer is funding this through SANDAG, the taxes it collects. Is Mexico participating in the funding because they will benefit as well? I know they're participating with agency and expertise and contributing to the knowledge of the benefit outcome. Are they helping with any funding?
This plan is actually funded through the state's Sustainable Planning Grant Program. So it is a state-funded grant for $3 million. And to answer your second question, no, it's completely funds from the state.
Okay. It's not for here, but someday you would think since our partner so close, if this is a border, cross-border region and we're both going to benefit, we should both share in the cost somehow. But obviously we can't control that part of the equation south of the border. I wish there would be some participation there because there will be benefit there. But I think that's what the California taxpayers would hope for. But nevertheless, the outcome of the benefits to our side of the border, I understand, and I think the work is good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I think one of the models that we can follow for the future update plan is, and Jose Marquez is here and he can correct me if I'm wrong because he's in charge of the border master plan. But on the border master plan, the subsequent updates have been, they've been funded with either state or federal dollars, but sometimes some chapters of the plan are responsibility of the counterpart. Let's say Baja California does sometimes some of the work in the other chapters. So right now we needed to kick this off and start making it a prototype. But I hear you, and let's hope that first we get a good plan and then we pursue the update and the accountabilities, and we can have those discussions about sharing a little bit on the work that is done on both sides.
Are there any additional? Colleen Wallace from Riverside County.
Riverside County will help you. Just look for me. Whoop, whoop. But my question is, even though it's a state grant, have you went out to try to get any other kind of grants? What I was going to ask is how much is Caltrans giving to you guys for this project?
So it's a grant that they're providing $3 million for the plan. And no, to your first question, we haven't gone out and tried to get any sort of matching funds yet.
Oh, okay. And then I say if you want to collaborate with people, Zoom is fine with me, or wherever you want to meet, I'll meet, because I have my co-pilot back there, my husband, and he goes everywhere with me. So wherever you want, I'll come and help out. I have no problem because I'm big on air quality, big on that. I'm big on transportation. David knows that. So if you need me, I'm here for you because I'm doing this for Riverside County. Thank you.
Any other member comments? Seeing none, again, I want to thank you. Thank you for this important presentation. The only thing I would recommend is add the logo of the City of Chula Vista. We're very much involved and interested in participating because, we have the sewage crisis affecting our beaches as well. And we want to, bring all the regional experience that we have to this table. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the counterparts that are here from the federal and state government of Mexico as well, and all the efforts that have been made from the SANDAG staff. Thank you so much. And now moving on. Well, I think Yeah. Before we conclude, let me remind you that the draft for the 2025 regional plan is set to be released for a 55-day public comment period starting today, May 23rd. You can share your thoughts until July 18, and we'll kick off the regional public outreach events next month in June. Please participate. Visit our 2025 regional plan website for more details. And now item number 5 is adjournment. With this, the next Borders Committee meeting is scheduled for Friday, June 27, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. Now we can conclude and adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you everyone for participating.